interesting when I saw this announcement that Prince William was professing profound concern about now both sides of the conflict, obviously acknowledging the horrific massacre on October the 7th in Israel and the loss of innocent Palestinian lives as a result of the IDF forces in Gaza. But is there a risk this is straying into very political territory, bit too political for a royal prince?
No, I don't think it's controversial in the slightest, and I think you'd have to be quite radicalised on one end or the other to find fault with Prince William here.
There's a lot of people on those sides.
Yes, there are. Well, they need to understand that the monarchy is about unity. It's about bringing people together. As you've said, His Royal Highness has expressed profound concern from both sides here. And this is very much in keeping with his father's decades-long commitment to interfaith dialogue, building bridges, particularly in the Middle East, and tackling religious intolerance. And it's worth noting that as president of the British Red Cross, the King himself had a meeting with 5 humanitarian charities to learn more about the situation in Gaza, at the same time as he was meeting with the chief rabbi and speaking with the president of Israel to give his support, and being unequivocal in condemning the barbarous terrorism of Hamas. And Middle East peace is something that Prince William takes very seriously. He made a 4-day trip to the Middle East, actually becoming the first royal ever to make an official trip to Israel and the West Bank. And there he met with Netanyahu, and he also met with Mahmoud Abbas, the president of the Palestinian Authority. So I think this is something that is very much close to his heart, and would definitely have been taken in consultation, of course, with the government.
And remember, that's the key thing to remember, isn't it? These sort of statements don't happen without government approval. They would have been very careful. I'm going to read what the Kensington Palace spokesperson said. The Prince and Princess were profoundly concerned by events that unfolded in late 2023. So I don't like events. It wasn't personally. And continue to hold all the victims, their family and friends in their hearts and minds. Their Royal Highnesses continue to share in the hope of a better future for all those affected. That's a bit kumbaya for me. But they did condemn Hamas's appalling terrorist attack upon Israel in October, warning that both parties would be stalked by grief, fear and anger as Israel exercises its right of self-defence, but expressed their hopes for a lasting peace in the region. As you say, not much to disagree with there for any right-thinking person. However, I don't think there are that many right-thinking people anymore at the moment. I do worry. A lot of people on both sides will say, this is taking sides, this is taking sides. That is always a risk. But you think they've tiptoed down this route quite carefully?
Sure. Also have to say that, the Western zeitgeist has shifted somewhat over the last few months. It may have been more controversial 2 or 3 months ago, but now when you have Biden and the Australian government and the Canadian government and the New Zealand government all warning Israel about an offensive in Rafah and so forth, I think, in that context, this is less controversial than perhaps it may have been. But also remember that Prince of Wales's advisors are extremely competent. Many come from a government background. His new private secretary has a peacekeeping background. He was private secretary to Lord Ashdown when he was the UN High Representative to Bosnia and Herzegovina, and was also a senior advisor to the former head of MI6. So these people really do understand
They know their stuff. Can I just say, in the last couple of moments, we've got a brand new statement from Prince William alone. He's saying, I remain deeply concerned about the terrible human cost of the conflict in the Middle East since the Hamas terrorist attack on October the 7th. Too many have been killed. I, like so many others, want to see an end to the fighting as soon as possible. There is a desperate need for increased humanitarian support in Gaza. It's critical that aid gets in, and the hostages are released. Sometimes it's only when faced with the sheer scale of human suffering that the importance of permanent peace is brought home. Even in the darkest hour, we must not succumb to the counsel of despair. I continue to cling to the hope that a brighter future could be found, and I refuse to give up on that. Those are his final words on that. Rafe Hadel Manku, royal commentator, really appreciate you joining us.